Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yo, what up, It's your boy Rabino.
And this DJ in the building.
And you listening to the UpNUp Podcast.
Yeah.
Wait, what are we doing?
I don't know, just listen.
Yes. Welcome.
What's going on?
Welcome. You're listening to the UpNUp Podcast. I'm your host, Rabino.
And I'm DJ man.
How you doing, man?
And I'm good.
Good?
I was out of commission for a while, but
Yeah, I ain't seen you in a minute, bro.
I know.
It's good to see you, bro.
I know. How you been?
I missed you, man. Let's get over that. For those of you first-time listeners out there, thank you for tuning in. Hence the name UpNUp. This platform is created to, cultivate the culture, share stories of amazing individuals and talents who are consistently grinding, living on the up and up, going after their visions, their goals, and their dreams. And we just want to, amplify their stories. Getting out the way, I also want to shout out all the supporters. Those who've been tuned in, we definitely appreciate the encouragement, and make sure to rate, review, subscribe, continue giving those reviews. I love getting feedback on
all that.
Certain episodes, how they may have impacted you, or how you can relate to it. So definitely appreciate that. Now, getting that out the way, we always got a special guest, man.
Always.
We never fall short on that. And today's guest, I would say, she's a woman who's been committed to elevating and supporting the talent in her city and beyond for almost a decade now.
Mm-hmm.
In areas of music, entertainment, culture. She's built platforms for artists and talent to thrive and capitalize here on our home front, and I'm sure it goes beyond that as well. She's a person who I would say has what we call that up and up spirit. You know what I mean? Always on it, always grinding. A true hustler by nature. She's the co-founder of independent music web platform Glowin Up, which was launched in 2015, and also host of newly launched podcast, Glowin Up. Our guest is none other than multi-talented and support enthusiast, Miss Casey Carter. Can we get a round of applause?
That was dope.
Hello.
Okay.
Thanks for the intro. That was very nice.
I've been working on it, man. I've been working. You got to roll that red carpet out.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a guest. How are you doing today, man?
I'm good. Chilling.
Chilling?
Yeah.
Vibing?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're not familiar with the show, we usually start the show off with a quote of the day. This is just, to get the vibe right, get the mood right, get our minds right. And my guy across from me, he always comes ready with the quotes. So what you got for us today, man?
All right, man. Today, this quote is, "Things may come to those who wait, but only the things left by those who hustle." So if you wait, you might just get the leftovers. You know what I'm saying? So
that's real.
That's nice. I like that.
That's real. And who's that by that?
Man, it's unknown.
Unknown.
Right now. I'm still trying to find the person,
right?
but it's unknown.
Usually the anonymous quotes are the ones that be more.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that hit. So
just a framework, the quotes. We usually bring in the quotes because we always try to bring something that'll tie into our guest story.
Mm-hmm.
What they do, what they provide, how they contribute to the betterment of this world and this culture. So for you and the entire Miss Casey Carter brand, before we get into everything you're doing now, I kind of want to get into the build up.
Yeah.
So kind of like the early life. So where did you grow up? Did you grow up in Seattle?
Yep.
Okay.
First, I want to say that quote's tight because I always used to say, "Good things come to those who wait, but great things come to those who hustle." So it's very similar.
Yeah,
but I always used to say that.
You might have
good
to
quote.
throw it out there.
Yeah.
It's a good quote. I'm from. I was born in San Francisco, but I'm basically from the South End. Like when my mom moved here, she moved right there next to Henderson and Rainier.
Okay.
Grew up in 98178. Went to school at Rainier Beach, so I'm definitely from the South End.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. In there, South Seattle.
Yep.
Shout out. So yeah, I mean, there's so many influences that you can have as you're growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like, music, culture, entertainment, a lot of those things kind of influence you, would you say?
Absolutely. I mean, growing up, my family was really into those like tabloid magazines.
Mm-hmm.
So we just had those everywhere, and I loved that stuff.
Yeah.
And like I used to watch a lot of MTV and VH1.
Yes.
So I mean, all that stuff raised me, and yeah.
Definitely.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How's the name Casey Carter brought up?
Well, it came because of my love for Lil Wayne.
Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of people really think my name is Casey Carter.
I
It's
thought so
not.
too.
Yeah, a lot of
I
people
know, me
do.
too.
I don't, that's fine. But no, I used to love Lil Wayne. Like, I'm talking about like back in the day when all the mixtapes were dropping, and I actually got out of a relationship. And I had this iPod just full of Lil Wayne music, and I was just obsessed with him. Like, there was nothing you could tell me about him that like would make me not like him.
Yeah.
And I knew every song, I knew everything by
Yeah.
this guy, so I was like
He
borderline obsessed.
He was scorching back then.
Yeah,
yeah, he
I
was the
mean,
man.
this is like the Wayne that kids don't know.
Yeah.
Like he molded what we listen to today.
It's a
Like.
fact. It's a fact.
And so it's sad to like see where he's at right now and
Yeah,
like the
I
respect
feel
he
you.
doesn't get.
Mm-hmm.
But one day I think one of my girlfriends, she called me Cece, and I was like, "What's that?" She was like, "Casey Carter," and I was like, "Oh, I fuck with that." Like, I'm gonna just use that.
It
So
works. It works.
yeah, that's where it came from.
Okay, so that's dope. Thank you for sharing that as well.
Yeah.
Now, so going from there, I want to tap into I feel like everybody that we bring on this show, they have kind of those defining moments, right? To where you have an interest, you have a skill set that you love, right? You love to do, you're enthused with, but then there's a point that hits you where you're like, man, I really love this, and I think I could capitalize off this.
Yeah.
And so at what point did you realize, okay, let's take Casey Carter and turn this into a brand more so than just, a name that I use amongst my friends and stuff?
Yeah. Well, it was like a combination of a couple of things. First, I was like on MySpace sharing a bunch of like music and gossip that I was really into.
Shout out MySpace.
Yeah, because I was just always known for the girl who like knew about all the music and knew about all the gossip going on and stuff.
Got you.
And then my homeboy who I went to high school with, Jugga Hill, do you guys know him? He's a rapper.
Okay.
He went by Game Boy.
Okay.
But he took me to a local show, and prior to that, I thought local music was just like a joke. So I just didn't have respect for it. But
Yeah.
when I went to this show, I was like, yo, like these people are actually pretty dope. And
Yeah.
like they're like me. Like I'm not an artist, but I have a dream just like them, So boom, I was like, I want to help everybody. So that was one
Yeah.
moment. And then I used to kick it all the time too. So I used to go out all the time. I've been kicking it since I was like 15. My mom, she didn't care. Like I had fake IDs and everything.
Okay.
So, but I was like, obviously, you got to pay cover every time.
Yeah.
And I was like, how can I like get paid to go to the club instead of like me paying to get
Yeah.
into the club? I know everybody's always hitting me up trying to figure out where the party's at. So
Gotcha.
how can I do this? So I told my homegirls, I was like, hey, we're going to throw a party and it's going to crack. And we ended up selling out the party. So it was hella
Hell yeah.
popping. So I would say those two things right there was just like, okay, like I can throw events and they can pop.
Yeah.
And then I can also mess with this music stuff and like be a part of people's journeys and help them out.
Yeah. Put them on.
Yep.
Put them on. And
Yeah,
I
that's
think
dope.
that's tough too, because it's like sometimes you want people to win, and you want to push people, and you want to like share what they're doing, and yet sometimes people are like, well, who are we to trust your judgment? So was there any early kind of doubt as far as like, okay, well, I don't know if everybody's gonna rock with my suggestions, or did you just say fuck it?
Oh no, I never like doubt myself.
Okay, that's real.
Like I was just hungry, and like I'm very confident the way I move. If I'm not confident, then like something's wrong. So there was never any doubt. I was like, I'm gonna do this, and like, people can see if you're confident. If you lack confidence, people can sense that, and then I can understand why they won't trust you with their stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you walk with confidence and you know what you're doing or have an idea of what you're doing
Yeah.
and you present that, then
Yeah.
people will fuck with you and they'll gravitate towards that.
Yeah, that conviction is real.
Yeah.
No, that's real. That's how you win. It's like if you're in a race, you keep looking back to see what somebody else is doing or
Yeah.
whatever. You're not confident in your speed. You're
Yeah.
probably gonna lose.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
No, I
that's
feel
real.
you. That's
Yeah,
dope.
and no one
real.
was really doing what I was doing, like, blogging and all that kind of stuff. And the music scene was just like underground here in Seattle when I started messing with it. So it was just like, I I had a full lane, like, clear. You
Yeah.
know, no one was in my way.
yeah.
So I
There was
was
a
just,
void.
I was like, boom, I'm out here.
Yeah, no, that's dope. And so this, we could say what, like around 09,
Yeah, I would say like around
2009.
09 is when I really was like, I'm in this music stuff.
and that was a very, very, I think, pivotal moment just for hip hop in general,
Yeah.
not just the local scene in general,
Yeah.
because that was the emergence of the internet, social media, and all that.
Yeah.
So now, you know, it's 2018, right? About 9 years ago. You've witnessed the evolution of the internet within hip hop and culture and entertainment. Now, how much has it changed since the early days as far as how you move as opposed to now? What would you say?
Well, back then I was kicking it every night. Like there
Okay.
wasn't a night you wouldn't catch me at. Like I was everywhere.
She was
Now,
out there.
no, I'm at home. Like I love it when people cancel plans because I'm just like, yes, I get to stay home.
I
So
feel
that's
that.
definitely one big thing. The Seattle music scene, I just talked about this on the last show. Like the evolution of like the music scene and shows is like definitely changed. Like there used to be shows all the time
Yeah.
and like
Mm-hmm.
beat battles and
Yeah.
like things that would bring the music community together. There's no shows anymore.
Damn.
There's no like big events like that, and it's just dance parties and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think the scene has like had a little taste of success through different people
Yeah.
Yeah.
that I think a lot of people just are like on their own shit, and then they're also like they're in more of a competition than they've ever been in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing and a
Right.
bad thing.
I agree.
You know, and then as far as the internet, I think back then people cared about quality, people cared about artwork and you know, all that kind of stuff in the packaging. And now it's just like, I just recorded this song and it's not mixed, the beat doesn't match or
Yeah.
nothing,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna put it on SoundCloud
Yeah.
and get hella listens. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's not on in my eyes, but
Yeah.
the internet thinks it's
Oh.
on.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy, man. It's different. It's a different time, you know.
Yeah.
It's saturated, obviously.
Yeah.
It's saturating the
Exactly.
market. And with the internet, social media, and all these tools and resources that artists have now, it's a do-it-yourself era, right? So sometimes they won't feel like they need to seek out a platform or, you know, a local platform to put them on. They're like, oh, I could just step over that and do it myself, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it's dope because we all want artists to have freedom, right? We don't want them to go into, you know, label situations where they're controlled and they're not able to actually do what they want to do. So it's kind of like that balance, I guess.
Yeah.
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 Plus, you don't want. I mean, you gotta have the right guidance too. You know what I'm saying? Like, kind of like what you were saying. You can't just be putting anything out there. It's kind of gotta know what you're doing on SoundCloud or whatever you're putting your stuff on.
That's real. That's real.
I don't know. I think that's something that we gotta like.
Yeah, I think it's like ignorance sells right now. Like the most ignorant, the most ratchet, the more and more you don't care in the public's eye, the cooler you
Yeah.
appeal to these children,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's who like they're trying to get.
And they don't know no better. They don't. The kids don't know
Yeah.
no better, and the kids that making the music probably don't know no better either.
It's so sad.
Yeah,
Like
it's
that's, I mean, I haven't shared it too much, but like that's one of the big reasons I've decided to take a step back from the Blow Up, the music website,
Yeah.
just because it's
Yeah.
like I'm not familiar with a lot of these artists. I don't relate anymore. I don't like any of it anymore. They don't listen. So it's like, why am I gonna stress about like
Yeah.
trying to help
Yeah.
everybody anymore? Like
Yeah.
let me focus on what makes me happy
Yeah.
and like sharing the
Yeah.
things that bring me joy
Yeah.
instead of trying to dealing with rappers has been the most stressful thing. And it's like all I've done is try to help them out, but like they don't listen.
Yeah.
I don't like they're bad kids. That's what they are. It's like you tell them everything and then like they're like, fuck whatever, I'm gonna do what I want.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh hey, can you put me on this show? It's like you don't even
You don't
listen.
understand. You
Like
don't understand.
yeah.
Nah, that's real. So let's talk about the Blow Up, because there was a time, I'm sure, when the Blow Up did launch,
Yeah.
where you believed in the mission and you believed that, okay, we can have some impact here.
Yeah.
So talk about how that came about, how you guys built that platform.
I mean, I believed in it so much that I like took a break from Miss Casey Carter and was like, this is all about like, you know, the music. For a long time, so MissCaseyCarter.com was just like a blog. It was about like all the things I was doing. It was supporting artists, but like my support for artists like just took over my life. So the website and my like what I was known for became all about like independent music. So
Gotcha.
but then I wanted to still talk about like the other things I was like doing and like the parties and like the TV shows I watch and stuff like that. Like that's me.
Yeah.
But it just stopped making sense. Like
Yeah.
I'd have people like interns and stuff and they'd post about all this like independent music and then I'd like post something else and it just would look out of order, you know?
It wasn't aligned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just the brand was getting too much and people would just like when they would like introduce me, it'd either be like this girl is like a music person or it's like I don't know what she does. What do you do? You know, she does all this and it's
Yeah.
just like, okay, I need to separate this. Let me figure this out. So my homeboy Carrick, who was my partner on he was like an intern on Miss Casey Carter. He just was like going super hard and he followed the vision. So then I was like, hey, like he was doing all this work and I was getting thanked for a lot of it. He wasn't getting the credit for it. So that was another big thing where I was like, okay, like I think this has lived its course for a while. Let's like launch something else where it's nobody's name and you know we're just gonna it's all based on supporting independent music and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, fuck it. And my saying was like everything I throw up blow up. So
I like that.
then I was like, let's just like this is what we're gonna do. We're blowing people up.
Yep.
So
That's real.
boom, we put in the work. I put Miss Casey Carter on hold. And then we launched the blowup.co in 2015 at the A3C Music Festival down in Atlanta.
Atlanta, yeah.
So that was fun. I love meeting new people. I love meeting like passionate people about their art and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be people to help. But yeah.
That's dope. I like that. I like that story of, you know, it's more than just you're creating opportunities for other artists.
Yeah.
But you also create an opportunity for your partner, Carrick, right? Which was dope as well.
Yeah.
And blowing people up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I mean, throughout the past couple of years, I've been able to build a really, really good team. So like shout out to Della, Olivia, Queen Keish, who was on here, you know.
That's the homie.
And then Alec and Kevin, who are pretty new, but like have taken it, like they're doing really good things.
That's
so
dope.
I'm always going to be here to help them. Like that's my baby, you know, but at the same time, I want to just like focus on helping them and not helping everyone else anymore.
That's real. That's
Yeah.
real. Because at the end of the day, it's still going to impact those,
Yeah.
you know, that you were trying to help in the begin
Yeah.
with. So
And they like the music. Like they fuck with it, you know. They're young too and
that makes sense.
they have skills and, you know, they're just a little more passionate about that kind of stuff than I am.
That's dope. That's dope. I also had a question. So, did you have any mentors along the way early on that maybe you looked to and it could have been from a distance or it could have been directly that kind of helped you along that way?
I wouldn't like say there's like anyone in particular. It's just like a lot of like people I've worked for. Like I used to work at this store called Kicks and Teas and I had a boss. Her name was Lisa. Super, like she's so filthy. Just like this filthy ass Asian woman who like owned this urban store in the South End, you know, and she was my boss.
That's dope.
A guy named Gene Dexter, he's like a big supporter in the music scene. He's worked like really hard here in Seattle, like back in the 90s, breaking hip hop records and stuff. And he kind of took me under his wing.
Okay.
Melly, Grace Kelly. I mean, all these people, like, I wouldn't say
Too
they
many
were
to
like
name.
my exact, because that was the thing. It was like, I move too fast and like I'm hard headed. So I was just like, fuck it. Like, I'm just going everywhere.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, those are the people who, like, in my corner and they help me,
That's dope.
you know, when they need to.
No, I bring that up because, you know, when people watch and listen to this podcast, we always want them to pull like gems, you know, from our guests, and natural ones, organic ones. But I think it's important that people reflect on the journey, those who they've met along the way, because one of the homies told me the realest shit. He was like, he said, when I'm at my best is when I'm in the present and I'm here and I'm now. He said, when I'm at my worst is when I'm just so consumed with what's ahead and what I'm trying to do, and I lose sight of everything that's happening and the people that I've met along the way. So it's dope that you could remember their names and just, you know, and bring them up and say, this is who, even if it was for a job that you're not doing now, but it's just, that's just dope. I like that.
That's the one thing for me is like gratitude has always been my attitude. Like, I'm so thankful for everything that anyone does for me, anyone that like shares like, or tells people about me, shares my work.
Yeah.
Like, I really appreciate all that stuff because people don't have to do it.
That's real.
Like, I know I don't have to do this.
Yeah.
So it like makes me really upset when like artists are so ungrateful, or like people, you know, especially like artists I work with and give them platforms, they're just so ungrateful. It's just like, who raised you?
You can't control that though. That's the tough part.
Yeah.
That's dope. So now we want to jump into now what came after the blow up, which is the Glow Up, right? The podcast. And you know, I was definitely in tune with that launch, and it was dope. It was exciting, and I think it's just I see a lot of things happening in the city currently that excites me, and that podcast was one of them. So how did that come about, and how did you jump in? Because you were doing interviews before to begin, right?
Well, that's how like my name kind of got out there more and more. Was just I was able to land like back in the good old blogging days when like artists were down for interviews, you know. So that's kind of how I got started, and then I just took I took a back seat on that kind of stuff because first artists weren't like responding anymore. Like the internet kind of changed up, you know, it wasn't so fun anymore, and they just were like declining interviews. And I just saw like me like not enjoying it as much. Like, do I get this interview because it's like a big name, or do I do this because I enjoy this? So it was just like I just wanted to like not do it anymore. But Keith, shout out to him, he's the producer of the podcast. He approached me, I would say, a year before we started the podcast. And he was like, hey, shout out to Gene Dexter because he's the one who did that. He was like, hey, you want to do a podcast? And I'm like, oh, yeah, like that sounds fun. But I didn't know what a podcast was. So I like kind of left him hanging for a whole year. And then, but luckily, I just started listening to podcasts. Like I started listening to The Read and Serial, and just was like, oh, this is what a podcast is? I can do this. So from there, I hit him up, and luckily he was right there and was down to do it. So he brought me in, and it was going to be a solo project. But like somebody like me, I'm a talker, but you never know how to do a podcast until you really do it at first. So, you know, like luckily I went with somebody who knew what he was doing, because it had it been me, like I'm very fast. I'm like, okay, this is it. I'm going to put it out. Boom. The world's going to fuck with it. I'm successful. No, that's not how it works. So I did my first like trial episode, and it was just like kind of stale. And then I was like, I need somebody. So I brought in the homie. His name is Reese.
Shout out Reese.
He's a personality too, and he was doing his own thing with his interviews and that kind of stuff. So I was like, and he's very problematic. And the words I used, I was like, I need a Charlemagne. So I was like, boom, like we went to the same high school together. We're friends. Like, let's do this. So it took us like 2 months of practicing. We have like 2 months of episodes that, you know, we just try to get comfortable with each other. Then we launched that in December, and we've had like a great number of guests. And then I don't even think it took until like 6 months later for us to really like start feeling comfortable. We had all these episodes under our belt, but it was just still like, you know, we were still figuring things out. But I think more recently, though, sadly, me and Reese, we just had to walk our separate ways. Shout out to him. That's always going to be the homie. It's always love. Sure. I think there was just some, you know, creative differences, and I decided to keep rolling with it. You know, I wasn't going to just like drop it or anything like that. So now I'm hosting the show solo, and really focusing on what the bread and butter of the show is, which is highlighting art and entrepreneurship. Got you. But you know,
nice. It takes that filling out process. You know what I mean? Even me and this guy. You know?
Yeah, it's hard. Like you think you can just like talk, but like, no, people, you're not the same with the mics on.
No. Definitely not.
Yeah.
But you know, at the end of the day, and I'm glad you talked about that, because there's a lot of people that approach us who want to do podcasts, and I'm sure they approach you as well, asking, and it's important. It's important to have chemistry. It's important to be intentional about what you're doing, because like you said, when that mic comes on, people think it's just talking on it, but it's not just that. There's a lot of prep. There's a lot of back end work that happens to make sure the show goes the way it needs to go.
Exactly.
That's definitely
it's not that easy. I mean, if it's anything you want to do, you got to practice, you know.
Practice makes perfect. Exactly. Anything.
That's real. Talk about that for sure. And so I brought that up because with the Glow Up, you know, well, first I want to say what was like a moment while you were doing the show when you kind of realized, maybe there were some creative differences? Because I think, again, there's people that ask me all the time, they want to do it, and they're like, yeah, I want to have this person on the show with me. I want to have this person on the show with me. And I always tell them, like, make sure you guys really fill each other out and know.
Yeah.
So what were some of those creative differences, if it's, if you can share?
Well, me and Reese, like, we're just very strong personalities.
Yeah, I've listened to the show. So I can tell.
We're very, very strong personalities. And, like, I feel like for me, I had a clear vision of what was going on, like what I wanted for the show. Like I'm always about helping people, and I'm all about having conversations that inspire people.
Yeah.
I love having fun and I like to laugh, but that show, it started turning into like a joke. Not really like a joke, but like it was just lots of jokes. And like Jarv would be on the show and Maurice would be on the show, and it was like these three dudes, and like they would just all be saying a bunch of shit, and then like I'd be trying to control the conversation. Yeah. And it just like I had to take a seat back and just like say, hey, like, how is this inspiring? Like it's funny, it's hella entertaining, but like that's not the glow up, you know?
Got you.
So, we just had to have that conversation about that. And again, it's really hard, like working with friends. I'm sure you guys know, like it can get very, very hard and difficult, especially when you have conflicts.
Exactly.
But the number one like thing I had to realize was just like either you're gonna suffer and your brand is gonna suffer and like you're gonna be miserable, or like you can just boss up and just like have that conversation. Like business is business. And like even though you're friends, that doesn't mean you can't be professional about it and have those conversations. And it was hard for me. I hate conflict. I don't like to like feel like I'm being rude or anything like that. And like I love Reese, so it was just a little hard conversation, but I'm glad that we had it, and things, are just smooth sailing. So
no, and it's needed, and at the end of the day, like even for the UpNUp podcast and what we do, it's always about the bigger picture, which I'm sure it is with you, right? And like you said, it's about that impact, right? And I feel the same way. It's like when you feel like that's not happening, that's when you kind of feel like, what are we doing here,
And I didn't want to waste any time. That was the thing. Had it been like a few years ago, like I'm cool with chilling and figuring things out and giving people the benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, like I'm so, like I have my mindset. I know what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Like everything is just falling into place. Locked and like I just don't have any more time to like let things like happen. Like I have to make, I have to move pieces around too.
No, that's dope. And I've definitely seen the progression of the show, and so that's dope.
Thank you.
That's dope, and I'm excited for what's to come with that. Now we were talking about the Seattle Weekly article, or the piece article. The dope article that they did on you. The
that
piece.
Was so nice of them.
It was dope. But I actually there was a quote that stuck out to me personally. And it goes, you said, I love putting people onto stuff. I love sharing things. I love being the person to tell you about something. When you go to the website and you discover a new artist or find out about an event and you go to it, you like it, and you're like, fuck, this is tight. Casey Carter told me about this. That's what I do all this for. I want to be the person you turn to for recommendations. And I have a MO is support is key. That's like hashtag support is key. I always go with that. That's my thing. But that quote speaks to, everything you do if you encompass it all, right?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Yeah, I mean, really, like, that's what I love to do. And that's why, like, I had to separate the blow up and Miss Casey Carter, because it was just like, if I'm going to recommend you, like, a new snack or a new TV show or, whatever it is, like, that's not going to make sense on the blow up. So, but I do love it. Like, I love telling people about things. If I enjoy it, like I want everyone to know about it. Real. That's always been me since I was a little kid. Like, so that's just me.
Just living in your truth.
That's how I am with music, though. Like if I hear a good song or something, I'm like, oh man, I want to pay everybody onto that song, and like they could share that same joy that I got from the song, So
exactly.
I feel that.
And you being a DJ, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
Restaurants is like a big thing. Like food brings us all joy. I want everyone to be happy when they, eat. So it's just now with the podcast, now with my own site, just all that kind of stuff. I'm able to like freely be me, and like no one is questioning, I think people are just starting to understand the transition right now, and like finally seeing like what I'm really doing. So
no, that's dope.
Yeah.
For For real.
I think that creative control is everything.
Yeah.
And I think you need that. You know, you need creative control. You can't have no restraints. And you got to fight your way through those restraints early on to get to where you're at now, to where it's all you, you know, not all you in terms of you're the only one doing it, but just kind of creatively, you know, there's nobody holding you back.
Yeah. I mean, it took me a long time. It took all those 9 years for me to get here. Like, this is exactly who I was when I started it. And I love to learn. I love, if I see something somebody else is doing and it looks tight, like, I want to try it.
Yeah.
I think I've tried everything but like be an artist.
Yeah. You got bars for us?
No, not at all. Not
Okay.
at all.
Okay, cool.
But it just, you know, sometimes you just have to like go through your learning process. Like, this is my journey.
Yeah.
If I would have listened and like just stuck to what I was doing before, then like I probably wouldn't know all the things I know now. Now I can like understand everything in the entertainment versus like just the little things that I was focusing on. So I'm glad that like, you know, it took me this long to get to where I'm at, and here I am doing exactly what I started doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Set your pace. Don't react to the race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always, man. Always. And you were locked in and focused, you know. You didn't get distracted along the way. So
yeah, I mean, there's been times where I just didn't want to do this anymore. You know, I was just like, I'm done. I'm done helping people. I'm done like putting my money into this stuff. Like, it's just whatever. But there'll be moments where I think like that, and then like I'll get an email about somebody trying to ask me to be a part of something, or I'll get a DM and like somebody's like, oh, this is so tight, you know. So it's like, fuck, I can't, you know, like as much as you try, like the universe is like, it's fucking with you and it's telling you what's going, like, you know, it's a part of that journey. It's helping you out.
I'm always like, for me, impact's the biggest thing. I like impact over perception, because perception is fickle. People see you one day, they'll see you doing something, they'll probably show you love, then the next day they might be in a shitty mood, so they might not give you that same love. But impact is something that's undeniable, right? Like, you got to respect it. You have no choice if the impact's made, right? So you know, I feel the same way too. You know, when people give you you have those conversations, or they just give you that feedback, and they're like, yo, this affected me in this way, or I learned from your show or your content this way. That's what it's about. Yeah. You know, that's dope.
Thank you.
It's real.
You got any questions before I hit it with this bomb?
So, what do you got like coming up ahead? Like, is there like any parties?
Yeah.
Them events. Talk about them events.
That's my other biggest focus, besides like putting out recommendations and that kind of content, is my events. I started this for the 9/9 and 2000s party series. So I don't know when this is going to drop, but we have a huge party on the 3rd of July.
It's lit.
And that's like our biggest one. We've always done the parties in Barboza, but this one's going to be upstairs in Numos. So we're upgrading and hoping that everyone can come out. It's a great time just because it's like the best music. You know, we don't play no new shit at all. We play nothing but like music from the 90s and early 2000s.
Real music.
Yeah, and everybody just comes hella comfortable, and like everyone's singing and like dancing, and
Everybody
it's like, it's a good ass vibe. And I'm just like, I'm so happy that we started that. Shout out to my homegirl Kiasha, and shout out to Jarb.
Shout out to them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there.
What? I'm happy for that too, because the only time I listen to songs like that is when I'm like pre-funking. Like before I go to the club.
Exactly.
Let
me play this, you know, whatever.
Exactly.
So,
what else? I'm gonna work on another brunch, because we threw a brunch last May, and it was a brunch and a day party, so we're working on that.
Okay. But
dance parties, networking events, a few day parties here and there. I know everybody's doing day parties, so I just don't want to jump into that market. But I think those are my big things I'm focusing on, and then just like also helping artists produce really good quality like listening events, or like album releases and stuff like that. Like I said, shows are not so popular anymore, and it's really, really hard to get people to come out to shows. But we can tweak that and make a really great experience for your fans and your friends and stuff to support. So if you're an artist out there, hit me up, because I want to be able to help you create those kind of cool events.
That's dope.
That's
dope. So safe to say there's a lot of shit coming up.
I mean, I'm trying to work.
A lot.
I'm
That's
trying
what's
to
up.
stay busy, and even though I'm not working on the blow up, that doesn't mean like I don't want to help everyone. You know,
for
like
sure.
I do want to still help people.
Yeah,
So,
let us know too, cause we'll
yeah.
help push that.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
we're
absolutely.
behind it, so it's
For
good.
sure.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank you.
definitely pulling up to Numos.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's gonna
definitely.
be fun. I'm
Hell
telling
yeah.
you guys, if you've never been to one, like,
Yeah, I missed the last one, but
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna pull up to this one for sure.
yeah, this will
Yeah,
be a
yeah.
good time. So,
Okay.
yeah. And then just also, I mean, Jarv D, I'm helping him out too. So he has his album release coming,
Okay.
and that's called Safe Travels, and that drops on July 17th, and that's going to be his first album or EP under the Higher Music
Yeah,
label.
shout
so
out to them. They're moving.
make sure to
They're
check
moving
that
for
out.
sure.
Yeah, no,
Hell
shout out
yeah.
to Jay Park. He's doing a lot of great
Yeah.
things for Seattle.
Yeah,
so
I love it, man. I just love seeing everybody, especially people like collaborating,
Mm-hmm.
putting their minds
Yeah.
together and
Exactly.
creating individual lanes, but at the same time doing it collectively too.
yeah,
You know, so that's
it's a
dope
good thing.
for sure.
Like I
For
said,
sure.
it's a good time. Everyone is in that competitive mode because people are getting a taste of success in a different way than like back in the day. So, you know, if you're not a part of the movement right now, don't be brittle about it. Just like do some work.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot more brittle people and like people who are like, feel sorry for me because I'm not good and I'm mad at everybody. Like, no, just work on your shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't put out that energy because like you could be filthy in a week or two, but like, or, you know, a couple months, but people are going to remember that bitterness you put
That's
out
real.
there and
Yeah.
they're not going to want to
That's
support
real.
it.
That's
And I'm
real.
seeing that a lot lately. And it's just like, yo, chill, like complain to your friends, write it in a diary, put it
Yeah.
in a song.
Yeah.
But
You
that,
know?
that energy could, you know, it just comes right back to you though. At the same
Yeah.
time,
Get
you
what
put
you
it
put
out
out.
there. You know
Ooh.
what I'm
Get what you
saying?
put
So,
out.
There's nothing
feel
worse
you.
than like seeing a man want people to feel sorry for them because they're not that good.
Mm.
Like that's just, ooh,
Yeah.
mm-mm.
No, I feel you.
Shame on you.
Yeah.
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 Sorry, man. We're gonna pray.
Oh, there was one more thing I want to ask.
Yeah?
you about,
Oh, go ahead,
'cause
man.
It's kind of nostalgic for me.
Mm-hmm.
But in the Seattle Weekly article, so in high school, you was selling mixed CDs.
Yeah.
All right, cause that's just hella filthy to me. I don't know. It
Yeah.
just brought me back, cause like
yeah.
I ain't gonna lie, I still be making mixes to this day.
I'll talk,
So you
I'll
know,
talk.
like on CDs,
Yeah.
like straight
Yeah.
up, just to like.
How do people listen to them? No one has any CD drives.
Oh, I
in
got
the-
a CD player
in the
my
car. Okay. Yeah,
so
in the
it's
whip.
good.
In the whip.
But like computers don't even have
Yeah, I
any
know.
drives anymore.
Wow.
But yeah, no, I was like one of the first people to have a burner in my high school, and everyone knew me for music. So I was like, I'm not gonna be just doing this for free.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I feel you.
it's like, you know,
So
I was
they're
making good
slanging
money.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah. Did you have
That
the
was
trench
dope.
coat too? Did you have the trench coat?
No, I would have lists. People would like send me home with lists
Yep.
every day. So
Nice.
I'd have like up to 3 lists.
Yeah.
I would charge like $10 for a mix, and then like $5 for like a full CD.
Mm.
Yeah.
And you know that
What a
was,
time.
and
Those
you're
things,
like the
that was-
only
you know, you
person.
gotta get it.
Yeah,
What a time. What a
Yeah,
time, man.
so-
It's a high school job
So-
right there. for
yeah.
sure.
No, I like I said, I had money.
Mm.
It was
Yeah.
it was nice. It was really nice.
Yeah, yeah, hell yeah.
But then that was like when you had like downloading a song took like 45 minutes.
Yeah, you just sit there, you just let it do its thing.
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know,
I
go
would
do
leave it
something.
at home.
Yeah.
Like I download it all in the morning and then like come back and hope everything downloaded.
Yeah.
Like that'd be a good day, but like, you know, you'd come home and a couple songs would crash and just be like, damn.
I know. Yeah, that's crazy. Shout out
Yeah.
LimeWire though.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I had Napster.
They don't know
Oh.
about that shit.
Yeah.
you
yeah.
gotta put it out there, man.
Yeah,
It's
man.
nostalgic, bro.
Yeah.
Shout out to them.
Yeah.
I always ask this question to kind of wrap up our show because it's a great way to give you a chance to sum up everything you've kind of told us today and to kind of cast what's ahead. So if you can, what's one word to describe what keeps you on the up and up?
Hustle. That's like who I am.
Mhm.
That's in my blood. It's how I got here. It's what I'm gonna keep doing.
Mm.
It's what my kids are gonna do. It's like it's what my man does. We hustle.
We hustle.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
What's up?
Hell yeah.
Had it been had I got my name a few years later, I'd probably be Casey Hustle.
Yeah, that's real. Shout out Nipsey.
Yeah, shout out Nipsey. You know, he was
For
my
real.
first big interview. He was the
Yeah.
first, like before he was super big. That was the
Yeah.
first like
yeah.
artist that was like on a somewhat poppin' level that I
Yeah.
interviewed,
Yeah.
and like
Just to see the
yeah,
evolution.
it's so crazy, and he's just like the nicest person in the whole world.
Yeah.
Shout out to his brother Adam because I still keep up with them.
dope.
But I love Nipsey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dope.
super
what's
dope
up.
person.
Man.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, and you know, we appreciate you for sliding through.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes, being a guest on our show, and you know, definitely looking forward to everything you got going on with the Glow Up. Obviously consulting with the Blow Up and the events you got coming up. And yeah, I mean, we wish you much success.
Yeah, thank you. Shout out to you guys too, because it's I like that you guys aren't just focusing on like one genre of guests. I like how you guys do your podcast. It sounds really good. So shout out to you guys for giving a platform for people, because that's really important. There's so many creatives out here in Seattle,
a lot.
and everyone has unique stories, you know. Like that's why I love podcasts, and that's why it was so easy for me to hop. I mean, once I figured it out, so easy to hop in because everyone has a story.
For sure.
Yeah,
and everybody's story matters.
We appreciate you for coming.
Yeah,
you know, so.
thank you.
Definitely. And you know, with that said, you are officially a member of the UpNUp.
Hey,
Round of applause. Thank you.